But what to believe with Hagel? And Republicans have been successful for the most part in holding the line. For this question, for the answer, let's go and talk to Stephen Yates, foreign policy expert with the D.C. International Advisory, online at DCIadvisory.org, and former advisor to VP Dick Cheney. Stephen, good afternoon to you. Happy Monday, sir.
Happy Monday, Dana.
A lot of criticisms, of course, from the left, originating from the left, saying that Republicans are just being obstructionists, that they are, in terms of trying to delay the Hagel vote, so on and so forth. But is there any argument that can be made that their concerns aren't legitimate?
Well, the concerns the Republicans have raised, though, so far have been entirely legitimate, and only Democrat partisans with zero memory, which may be a majority for them, could suggest that this has actually been a long delay for a nomination. I mean, over the course of the last couple of administrations, there have been lots of long delays. Just hasn't happened on a Secretary of Defense because no president has put forward someone so visibly incompetent.
Yeah, well, completely. I mean, his record speaks for itself, and considering the fragile state that, in terms of our relations and ongoing kind of negotiations going on with the Middle East right now, especially with Iran and so on and so forth, it just seems like Hagel is sort of like a time bomb to drop into that. I can't imagine how this would be with him going forward, especially considering this dance that we are in with Iran right now. I mean, what benefit do we get from having someone like Chuck Hagel confirmed in office, essentially?
Well, I don't believe we do get a lot of benefit. The only reason that Republicans, I think, should consider for relenting in their questions and giving a confirmation vote would be if they had reason to believe that someone less qualified or more dangerous would be in the wings of the next nominee. But really, there is no evidence to suggest that the current deputy isn't doing a completely adequate job running the department. That deputy is likely to have to run the department even if Chuck Hagel is confirmed, given that he can't seem to remember what he has said in the past and didn't seem even really able to answer simple questions and answers at his hearing. But what it signals to the world, unfortunately, is to all the hard actors that have, not only are we going to have someone in charge of the Pentagon who is not necessarily going to be a driving force to build American power and influence, but we're going to have basically what I consider to be show ponies in our Senate, with McCain and Graham willing to kick up some dust, earn themselves a great deal of television time, but then when they deem it necessary, they will tuck and run and thereby look down their nose at the rest of their Republican colleagues, telling them, oh, you guys could just stand down now because the president should have his nominee. I don't really like the direction of that. I really more deeply respect the moves of other senators who have held firm.
Like Senator Ted Cruz. He's one of the ones that McCain and the rest have kind of gone head-to-head with because they said Cruz was just too harsh, Stephen. They said Cruz was too harsh in his questioning of Hagel. What was your response to Cruz's questioning? Did you think he was too harsh?
His questioning was certainly more harsh than the 60 Minutes interview of President Obama. His questions were certainly even more harsh than what a weekend excursion by Senators McCain and Graham would be to meet the press. But they weren't terribly hard questions. And frankly, it's about time we have someone really willing to stand up for what he believes, backed up by his constituents. He is one of 100 votes in the Senate. He has every right to express his view and withhold his vote if he judges it necessary. And really, I think a lot of his colleagues could learn something by that.
If memory serves, and some of the things that have been written about Hagel, just kind of going over his record, he was the only guy who was on the floor during the Senate going after Israel for defending themselves when Hezbollah crossed from Lebanon into Israel, and they kidnapped 2 Israeli soldiers. And he was the guy on the floor reading Israel the Riot Act for doing what any country would have done to protect its own interests and soldiers, which was, to defend itself and to strike back. It seems to me that the selection of Hagel and some of the other selections that the president has made for his cabinet are showing that have we shifted? Have we become more Iran friendly than Israel friendly?
Well, we're certainly more friendly to provocateurs. I mean, I don't know that it's actually Iran only. I think it's all allies should feel more isolated and having to fend for themselves. But look at what the tough response has been to the North Korean next provocation. I mean, really, when it comes to it around the world, we have a less strong defense posture. We are more reliant, ironically, on missile defense, that terrible Republican idea that came out of the Reagan administration, but now thoroughly necessary. It's definitely the case that we are tougher on our allies. And now we have the president on his way to go to Israel to say, I am not sure what, but it certainly is not likely to be reassuring to those who are afraid of a region deteriorating, Iranian influence growing, and basically difficulties coming at them from every direction.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. Well, at least can we expect at least that he won't make any sort of redress of the 67 borders? He won't make that request again. Are we even certain of that, Stephen?
I'm not certain of anything, but I do hope that the ever-sensitive political minders of the White House notice that it wasn't just Republicans that pushed back on that dalliance. That hopefully there will be a few centrist and sound-minded Democrats who will find a time to stand up and say, this is really enough. And even getting back a little bit to the Hagel nomination, I got to believe there have to be more than a few Democrats who said, are you really sure this is the best we can do with a nominee?
Well, and to kind of get back to Lindsey Graham and John McCain, I mean, aren't these guys, these guys are supposed hawks, correct? I mean, I don't quite understand them being angry at their colleagues who are becoming more defense hawks than they are, really. I mean, it kind of, that sort of blew my mind, the reaction that they had to their colleagues who went very aggressively after Hagel.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to ask yourself, do those two senators believe what they say? They say that Benghazi was a horrible tragedy and that there is a cover-up underway and that the president's nominee is not qualified. And then they say that they will no longer oppose the nomination when they get back from recess. So I don't even know whether the Republican colleagues can feel comfortable believing what these gentlemen have to say at this point.
Well, we'll definitely watch and see what happens, but ultimately I think it'll go through.
I agree.
You. Yeah, as do you. Oh, great. What a trio we have in Brennan and Kerry and Hagel here, Stephen. Doesn't it make you feel so optimistic about the future of our foreign policy?
It all rests on talking drones now.
Stephen Yates, D.C. International Advisor. I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks at CPAC, my friend.
I do too. Take care.
Take care. Thank you. Yeah, what a trio. Oh, goodness. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Quick break. We have your phone calls when we return. Don't go anywhere. It's The Dana Show.